What's going on, everybody? This is the ALB MLB The Show 18 team reveal, and I am not alone. I have Magic tonight. What's up, Magic?
That was a Michael Jackson song.
What's that?
You are not alone.
I'm not alone. I thought it was What's Up, Magic. I was like, I got to Google that song. And then we also have Justin with us tonight. What's going on, Justin?
What up, what up?
Now, at the time we're recording this, we had Stokes on, then he had some internet issues. He may be joining us, he may not be. We're all in for a surprise if he comes back, so stay tuned. Maybe you'll get some classic Stokes personality. Well, before we get into the owners we've talked about, we need to make a correction. On Friday, I posted that some guidelines for what ALB 18 was going to be like, and one of the things I said was, we are locked in 16 owners. And guys, we've already made a change to that. We upped it to 18. I was kind of hoping Stokes would be on here with me at the time I mentioned this, because he was a guy that was really in favor of upping it. He was even in favor of going as high as 20. But it just, honestly, it was just too hard. We felt like we were really cutting out some quality owners, and we still did cut out some quality owners. But 18 is a nice number where it's still not too watered down. You're not having too long of a season, but you do expand the league a little bit. And I think the idea is, as we get better year after year, we want to expand the league. But tonight's show is going to be more so about the owners and not as much about the setup of the league. But the one thing I will tell you guys is Justin has not heard who's in the league yet. He's going to be finding out with you guys, so you're going to get his real-time reactions, whereas Magic and then Stokes and I were more privy to the lists. Justin, quickly, what were your reactions when I told you we were going to go up to 18?
I was in favor for it, like, from the beginning, because I could see how Madden kind of died out early. You know, there's Chais that just announced right now that this is their last season, and you would never see that in any previous Madden. And I see the hype already building up to baseball. So I think this is going to be real successful, and I think we're going to have 18 teams and 6 to 10 like legit guys waiting.
Which is good. As I think we learned last year, it was our first run at a show league. Even more so than Madden, I think. I think a strong waiting list is vital in MLB this show. But guys, let's start diving in to the list of owners we have. And we're going to start off. I have some good news for everybody on the podcast. Magic, Justin, Stokes, if you're out there listening, I pulled some strings. I called in a few favors. I got all 4 of us into the league this year. So take a deep breath.
Yes.
We're all in. Mama, we made it. So,
Mama, we made it.
We made it. Magic, any surprises with those 4?
I don't remember actually committing to wanting to be in the league.
Oh,
so, yeah,
I didn't.
I'm a bit surprised that I'm in it.
This is a little behind the curtain peek. Up until about 30 seconds ago, Magic thought the B in ALB stood for basketball. So, just bear with him.
He's checking out the Warriors roster.
Yeah, I'm not on top of them.
So it was a little tricky to get Stokes to make the cut, but it is what it is. We'll put up with them. Then we'll go ahead and talk about the next 4 names too, because if you pay attention to this post on Friday, this won't come as any surprise to you. We're calling these guys the bonus babies: Bailey, Edub, Reese, and Prime. These are the guys that, based on their activity levels last year, are going to have a little bit extra good chance in the team selection process. In all seriousness, Magic, these 4 guys, there were a lot of guys that stood out last year, but these 4 guys were just super helpful in getting this league off the ground with their activity level.
Yeah, as you pointed out, it was our first time diving into baseball, and you don't really know what to expect the first time you dive into something. And all 4 of these guys were on top of getting their games scheduled and played, and the vast majority of those games played, because you don't have to play all of them. But these guys were really, really proactive in getting games in. So why wouldn't we want them back?
And just so everybody knows, go ahead, Justin.
Just commenting on those 4 real quick. Looking at the list of names, I feel like those 4 are like the least, besides Magic, the least baseball guys in the group.
Yeah.
With the exception of Bailey.
And I know Edub's a Mets fan, but Edub's, I think, much more of a basketball, football guy. Just as far as Bailey goes, I mean, I want everybody to know this is all based on data. I did those activity sheets last year. This is no favoritism. This is 100% data driven. Bailey went on vacation for a week and still led the league in games played. Edub was always in the top 2 or 3. But I even want to give an extra special shout out to Reese and Prime. And this is going to sound like an insult, but it's easy to be active when you're winning. But Justin, Reese and Prime, they took a lot of L's last year. And for those guys to consistently be among the most active, that says something special about those guys.
Yeah, they should get like an extra half ball. Like that's a big deal because it's hard to keep playing, keep grinding when you're losing and you know you're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and that goes for any franchise, in any sport, in any video game. You can have the guys that are there when they win, but for a league to be successful, you need guys that are there when they lose, and Reese and Prime were definitely that. All right, well, that is a look at the top 8. They haven't been many surprises so far, but now we're going to get into the names that may or may not surprise you. And by the way, shout out to my man Jackson in the background getting a bath tonight. I mean, he's as much a part of ALB as anybody, so shout out to him for getting on the podcast. All right, guys.
I was just going to ask if you could hear him because I can't hear him that well with my headset on.
Oh, yeah, and it's great. I mean, I like him better than most of the guys in the league, so it's good. I might actually like him better than every guy in the league, including myself. The next 2 guys, we have to give them, and just so you guys know, I'm going to be revealing these guys kind of in groupings, and there's going to be a little theme as we reveal. So these next 2 guys are the champs. We have Pat, who won the first ever ALB World Series, and then Cody, who's a 2-time ALB World Series champion. And guys, I can speak on behalf of 2-time champions. That is not an easy thing to do. I feel like Cody and I have that in common. I don't know if you guys realize this, but I'm a 2-time AFL champion. But Justin, I think if we were going to make a preseason ALB post, as far as power rankings goes, these 2 would be 1-2.
They would be 2-3.
2-3.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be number 1. I'm going to grind out this year. No, you're right, though. They're 1A, 1B. They're both great players, consistently, too.
Cody is a St. Louis Cardinal fan. Shout out. Do you know what team Pat is a fan of? Is it the Braves? Do you know?
Yes, it is the Braves, yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't. They are pretty bad. They got some young talent, but I don't know. With this new 18-team format, I wouldn't be shocked if they got picked, but we'll have to see. So those are the 2 champs. And now, guys, I'm super excited about this next 2 owner reveal. It's the Canadian wing of ALB, and we only have 2 Canadians this year, even though we had 4 apply for spots. The 2 Canadians that made it into ALB are T-Mag and Costa.
Wow. Who are the ones left out?
Vane and Shadow threw his name into the hat. Now, Vane was in ALB last year, and Shadow said he wanted a shot, and both those guys are definitely on the wait list. It would have just been hard to get Shadow in because of how many loyal guys we had coming back, and we only had a couple spots for newer guys. But as we're going to talk about a lot this year, a strong wait list is very important. But let me say something about both T-Mag and Costa. T-Mag joined the league late and was just kicking ass. The only reason he wasn't in the bonus baby category is because he joined the league so late. When he was in there, he was among the most active. Same thing with Costa. Now, he took over a very shitty Blue Jays team, and he was very active. And then the problem with him was timing. He joined in Season 3. He was very active. And then Season 4, we all tailed off. Both these guys I'm very encouraged by. And I'll say something else about both these guys. If either one of them were to leave the league, they are both elite team builders, so you don't have to worry about these guys a season or 2 if they decide to leave the league, leaving you with a shitty team you can't replace. They're going to leave you with a team that everybody's going to want to take over. And Justin, in baseball, that's huge.
Yeah, that's really, really, really big in baseball, especially the show. With last year being the first year that we learned how to draft and build players up. That's going to be a big deal.
All right, Magic.
Hopefully they don't go anywhere, but...
Yeah, I mean, hopefully none of these guys go anywhere, but that's just not the life of online video gaming, unfortunately. Magic, the Canadian wing, you were there when we made the choices. Shadow Vane out, T-Mag Costa in. Any reaction from that?
Oh, what a shock Vane didn't make it. Who could have seen that coming?
In Vane's defense, his data from last year didn't really justify him getting a spot. He did have stuff going on last year. I'm going to keep that private. He told me what was going on, and I respect it. And I'm happy he's through that. I'm really happy he's through that. And I really do hope he gets a shot at some point to hook on with ALB this year and prove that he should be there going forward as a core member. So that's a look at the Canadian wing, and now we're going to take a look at the newbies who made it to AFL. That's going to happen a lot on this podcast, to ALB. So we have 2 new guys that crossed the finish line and made it in. We have the commissioner of the PS4 franchise, Lara, who made it in. And then we have the co-host of AFL's new favorite show, Care Bear Kreppel, is taking over.
Okay, let's go.
So what we're adding with Lara is consistency, super reliable owner, and Care Bear, same thing, plus extreme entertainment value. Magic, both of these guys, when they threw their name into the hat, you, Stokes, and I all agreed we got to get them in.
Yeah, I don't know if I should reveal behind the curtains, but these 2 guys were the main reason that we bumped up from 16 to 18, because we wanted to make sure we could get them in.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, Lara Croft, very good owner, and running PS4 for as long as he has, he understands how it goes to run a league. And with Care Bear, we got someone who loves baseball so much. He role plays 1800s baseball in real life. So I mean,
that's a fantastic point. No, and one thing that Stokes had mentioned along the way, and I think he'd say if he was on the podcast now, is he'd say cheer, but he would also say that sometimes the devil you don't know is better than the one you do, and there's going to be some guys, I mean, we already talked about Vane, but there's going to be some guys that we're familiar with that didn't make the cut, that for whatever reason were decent last year but not great, and we're gambling on guys like Care Bear and Lara, I need to learn how to say his name, who have proven to be elite Madden owners, and we're thinking that nothing's going to change in baseball, so we're trying to make this league as good as possible, and we're not just going to go with guys they're not just going to give spots to guys because they were here last year. We're always looking to improve. And that wraps up the noob section of ALB 18. All right, guys, this next grouping is a little bit of an interesting one because we've already had a couple of guys come off the board that fit this category, but I had no other idea how to categorize them. We have the Mets fans. We have Rod, and we have Flip. Flip was a guy that last year was pretty active. He wasn't as active as I think he'd like to be, but he also told us going into it that he was in the middle of moving, and we knew that, and we just didn't expect him to be super active, but he still maintained mid-level accuracy. I'd say he was about average, so we're gambling on the fact that he doesn't have that going on this year. He's going to be better. And then Rod was a guy that I met because of ALB last year, and the dude was just a top-notch owner. He talks on his mic on streams. I think you and Rod, Justin, are always in party chat when you guys play. And another thing about Rod is he's pretty damn good at this game too. He made it to a World Series, made it to the playoffs every year. I think he's a guy that if we talk about that power ranking list, I think he's going to be in the conversation for top 5 preseason.
I agree. When Rod puts his mind to something and really, really grinds it, he's going to be up there, and he's going to be in the playoffs about every year.
All right, Magic. He was the Nationals.
Oh, yeah, they were good.
Yeah, they were good. He beat me twice in the playoffs. Speaking of doing something twice in the playoffs, did I mention I'm a 2-time Super Bowl champion?
Is that before or after they invented the forward pass?
One was before, one was after. All right. This next guy deserves a category all to himself. It is the Nino category. And if you're watching on the stream, you might have noticed that Magic's name disappeared from the top of the list on the left side. That's because Nino's name is now there, and Magic's name is now on the bottom of the list on the right side. This list is not in any kind of order. I just figured it wouldn't make any sense for anybody to see Nino's name under Stokes' name on any kind of list. So just so we're all... none of us are confused, I wanted to make sure Nino's name was ahead of Stokes' name, because I know that would create a lot of confusion. Was that a good move, guys?
That's, I mean, it's natural, isn't it? It's fitting.
Nino on top of Stokes. So when I pulled the data for the guys that were most active, Nino was actually more active than even Bailey, Edub, Reese, and Prime. This guy, when he puts his mind to something, he's in it to win it. He made the playoffs 2 years in ALB, but the problem is he left the league a little early for some interesting circumstances. He tried to sell his team, but I think Nino is good for the league. I think he's a really good player. I think he's the kind of guy similar to Stokes where if he starts grinding at a game, he's going to be really good at it. Super competitive guy, super active, and just really good for the league. And that gives us 17 owners, which means we only have one left. Any guesses? I know you guys may not be writing these down. Magic, you probably know the names.
Yeah, I won't guess.
Justin, any guess? Any thought as we're going along here?
Is it? So there's one guy left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? It's nobody new. So it's somebody that was here last year. Who haven't we named? I don't. I got nothing.
I want to tell you guys that because when I
have one guess. One guess. One guess.
Go ahead.
Mega.
No, but I will tell you this. When you hear the name, you're going to say, oh, shit, obviously. But the guys that are watching this at home, you can see the list in front of you. Justin can't see it. I'm editing it in after, and unless he's been writing it down, which I don't think he has, he's just kind of going off memory. The last guy is Chef Donald Anderson.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
My bad, Chef.
Chef is actually the commissioner of Knuckleballers, which is kind of like our, I don't want to say sister or brother league. It's similar, like AFL, PS4 relationship. And Chef really got us off the ground last year. He helped set up our roster so we could do our custom roster thing. He was a great sounding board for us as a guy with commissioner experience. Anytime we're thinking about making big decisions, we always bounce things off of him. He came on the podcast. He's a great recruiter for our league, and he's an Orioles fan. I don't know why I decided to throw that in there, but that is the list of 18 owners. Justin, you did hit on a guy that didn't make it, Mega. I'd say he and Vane were probably the two biggest snubs, but then you also have a guy like Mike Fisher, who was just a very top-notch AFL owner, but we just couldn't squeeze another newbie in, so hopefully he sticks around and joins the wait list. We had the guy that Rod recommended for our wait list, and I can't remember his name. He recommended him a couple weeks ago.
Todd Brown, I think.
Yeah, and the fact that I can't remember his name, please don't take that as an insult. It's just because I didn't write it down for this podcast, and I don't have my any internet access in front of me right now. But, you know, if Rod recommends you and Justin said something good about you and Pat said something good about you, like, you will rank high on the wait list, I can promise you. So just hang out in the group and see what happens. Justin, between Mega, Vane, Fisher, guys like that, anybody surprise you not getting in?
Did Mega? I can't remember what his numbers were last night, but did he show much interest as we're talking about this lately in the past couple weeks?
Yeah, he said he wanted to be in. Mega's a big baseball guy. He was probably the hardest cut, I would say. It's just the numbers weren't there. He joined with us last year and he bailed on us, and then he came back in, and I would say he was about average to a little below average activity-wise, and it was just, you know, I think Mega has the ability to be one of our better owners, but it just trying to make all the numbers work. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him in, but he was definitely the hardest cut. But Magic, you helped formulate this list of 18. Any final thoughts?
First cut is the deepest.
That's a song.
What?
That's a song.
Oh, it is? Man, I had to train of thought. I'm happy with the list that we have. I think 18 is also a fine number. So, I don't know. I'm happy with the list, and I think that this year will be better than last year. And I think last year was pretty damn good. So, looking forward to seeing how we do with baseball part 2.
For those of you that were around for AFL's beginning in Madden 11, ALB the first year felt a lot like Madden 11 AFL, where we kind of threw it together on a whim, and all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, we're onto something here. And I'm not saying that ALB has the future ahead of it that AFL has had. That would be completely insulting to the legacy that I think AFL has built and is continuing to build. even after my time has passed in AFL. I mean, Madden 11 through Madden 18 now and still going. That's ridiculous. But it just felt like, all right, let's see what happens. Oh my God, we have something. This is great. We made it through 3 full seasons, not even knowing what the hell we were doing. And now here we are in season 2, and we almost have to like lock the door to keep people out. Guys, I'll tell you what's coming up as far as ALB goes in the future. We're totally respectful of the fact that we have some newer guys, and we also have guys that maybe not have thought about baseball too much since Madden came out. We'll put out a little podcast here in the next couple weeks. We still have some time where we just completely go over all the rules again, how the schedule works, why the schedule's set up the way it is, why we have the season length the way it is. We can do a refresher on scouting. Post it on our Facebook group. Any questions you have, anything you might have. No question is a dumb question. There are no stupid questions. There are stupid people, though. Just take a look at AFL over the past couple of days with some of the theories going on. But seriously, any questions you have, if you're thinking it, somebody else is thinking it, we'll try to cover it all on an ALB podcast coming up in the near future. But for now, the topic is the 18 owners. Any final thoughts, Justin or Magic?
No, I'm excited for the game to come out.
All right, guys.
What date is released?
What is that?
They announced it already, right?
Yeah, it's March. Oh God, it's like 24th or something. It comes out a couple days early if you pre-order it online. But I will say that there's a roster update that's done by, I think, Operation Sports, where they go in and like edit the entire minor leagues to make them accurate. And I think that's a very pivotal roster update for what we're trying to accomplish. Because in baseball particularly, the minor league system is, it can make or break whether you really want to like a team or not, because those guys are on your team for really cheap for a long time. So it behooves us to wait for that, even if it does take a couple weeks. So just embrace the fact that the game's going to come out. Some of you may not have even thought about baseball for the last 6 months, and you have 2 to 3 weeks to brush up on your baseball skills before the game starts kicking off for real. So we'll get into all that on an upcoming podcast. Shout out to Justin for joining us tonight. Magic, the pleasure was mine. Obviously, I know you wouldn't say it was yours. And Stokes, out there somewhere, hope you can get your internet fixed.
Can't watch massage porn without internet.
Oh my God, that's the truth. I sure hope he has a data plan.
March 27th, release date.
There you go.
All
March
right.
27th.
Selection March 1st.
That's another thing we're going to have to figure out on the page. Like, are guys going to be confident doing team selection before the game comes out? I don't know. I think that'll be interesting. Maybe we make a poll. But until then, we have all this to talk about. We have a month to talk about it, but it's going to be here before we know it. So for Justin, for Magic, I guess for Stokes, this is Josh. Talk to you next time.